thanks for participating today and being a part of this webinar. Uh, Continue to focus on our youth deflection initiatives. I want to introduce, before we get into our program today from Nashville, I want to introduce the Social Justice Institute out of Bryn Mawr with Darlene Bailey and Sarah Spath, who is on the phone or on the site here. And Darlene, if you could just take a few minutes to introduce what SJI, well, let me explain. SJI is going to be working with us particularly on the Everyday Counts initiative, and particularly helping us design questions and training folks on how to utilize the questions around the SBIRT, screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment, keeping kids in school and addressing chronic absenteeism, and really talking about creating a presence in our schools, much of which you'll see some examples of today in Nashville's presentation and what they're doing with the school district, and particularly a specific school in Nashville. I've come to know Darlene. She's been very patient and working through this with us, and we're finally there. And I'm going to have her introduce um, SJI to our sites. Go ahead,
Great.
Darlene.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Colleen, for the invitation. I think we've been at this talking about it for about 9 months, which is a proper time for something to be born. It's when you've got two legs.
Good.
And being introduced to you by my big brother, Daryl. Daryl and I go way back, and he also serves on the Social Justice Initiative Advisory Council. We're housed here at Bryn Mawr College, and the president who just left, when I stepped aside from being a dean and a professor, gave us an office, and us being Sarah Spath, who's the director of programs. So it's the two of us, and Daryl watched this grow from a dream to a reality. And the president who stepped aside gave us this office on the third floor of the administrative building. So we're not part of Bryn Mawr College, in the sense that we don't receive funding from Bryn Mawr College, but we are fortunate to be there, so that we have space, we have access to technology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The advisory council, as I said, of which Daryl is a part, has long been saying, move out, go on your own, start up your own 501c3. And when we have a second to think about that, we will. Our main focus is co-creating a more just world for all. And as far as my last look, the word just and justice are still words we can use. We teach a course called Advancing Racial Justice here at Bryn Mawr College. We created the course at the request of the president, and we engage in research, we engage in training, we give webinars, and the hope is that we'll have what we call social justice warriors joining our community. So please, hopefully all of you will be kindred. You're kindred already. I don't even know you and I'm smiling. And hopefully we'll be able to cross paths here and cross paths. Maybe you'll even be able to come to some of our virtual or in-person events as well. We have one coming up later this month, in a couple of weeks. So yeah. So that's a little about me. I just snuck all that stuff in: president, vice president, dean, professor, staff. Back to the community where I came from, although it's not in Harlem. Sarah, did you want to say anything?
Just glad to be here. I've been working with Darlene for 2 to 3 years now, and I've come to a couple of events, so several of your faces are very familiar to me, and look forward to joining and continuing.
Good. Well, we're glad you're going to be a part of this. They're going to help us design the questions that we use for the SBIRT, the screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment strategy, with our pilot sites, particularly in Oklahoma City and in Schenectady, New York. And we've also just added Albany, New York, and also East Harlem has just joined the Act Now journey. So we welcome them. We're getting close to adding a couple more. I think we're going to be adding Ogden, Utah. We'll know a little bit more about that tomorrow. Um, so excited to see the project growing and the unique initiatives. Colleen and I were in New York last week, um, or almost 2 weeks ago now, I guess. Um, got to visit East Harlem, and we also got to visit Albany and meet with Schenectady to really discuss how that program is coming together. On the school district is really involved, and the same thing in Oklahoma City. So excited about that. So Tanner, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of transition us, and we'll get going with the program. Thank you.
Well, we have a presentation today from the Nashville site. I think I'm actually just going to pass it over to Dr. Willis, and she can introduce the program that she's going to share with us today.
Okay, thank you so much, Tanner, and everyone that's on the call today. We really just appreciate the opportunity to share with you, to let you know what we've been up to, what our kids have been up to, and then we're just really excited about our program. First and foremost, I'm not sure who has just been a participant as far as in tune with what we started doing initially. So I just want to start at the beginning, okay? As you all know, the 510 Foundation, they had the desire, they knew that there was a need to reach out to the students in the area residents of where the Nashville First Church of the Nazarene resides. And just really focusing on the need for the connection. We actually partnered with Metro Police Department, who has been so instrumental with everything that we've been doing. We collaborated with them, and our initial step was to canvass one of the area public housing apartment complexes. We started there, and just interacting with the parents. It was during the month of August, so it was, if you can just envision the setting, everyone's outside, everyone's hanging out, and we're walking through. So that was my first connection of really many of the people in that area not really wanting to talk to the police. They did not want to talk to the police. And so I just sort of encouraged them, you guys just walk on, let me stay behind. I think it's okay. So we were able to sign up quite a few students, but quite naturally, they didn't know who we were. They didn't know anything about the First Church of the Nazarene. And they were like, what are you going to do? How are they going to get there? What is this program about? So what we initially did, we decided in order to even move forward with this program, we need to hear from our students. So we started with a listening session. That was back in September 2024. We invited the police department, the Juvenile Justice Center, also public school system, some neighbors. Even though our students that attended were few in number, it was really a great opportunity to hear the voices of our students. We had one of our soon-to-be teen mentors actually moderate that session, and we learned quite a bit from our students. And we started that session by sharing that we were not there to judge them. We wanted them to see this space as an opportunity to be open and honest and truly share with us their concerns. Anything that was of interest to them, we wanted them to be able to share that. It's sort of hard for adults for us to sit there and not be able to say anything. That was probably the biggest challenge that day during the listening session, was asking all the adults not to comment and not to question or critique our students. And because at that time, they were not our students. We wanted them to be our students. So one of the questions that was asked, and I just want to share this point before moving on. One of the questions that was asked, who would you like to listen to you more? One of the young ladies stood. I requested all of the students to stand as they were speaking, because that's one of the things that's a challenge for them. This young lady, she's an 8th grader. She stood, and she sort of made this statement, matter of fact, had her hands on her hips, and she said, well, I would like the teachers to listen more because they don't care anything about you. We were not there to judge, remember? So we weren't supposed to comment. Well, we had teachers in the audience, and they were raising their hand, and they wanted, and I said, whoa, wait a minute. And then they said, but not all of them. So one just had to get that comment in. So I said, we appreciate that comment. I said, but this is her truth. This is her world, her reality, and we want her to elaborate on that. And so she embraced what that one teacher said, and she said, okay, maybe not all of them, but the ones that I deal with, yes, they do. So she was able to go back and validate that. So we heard from them, but our biggest takeaway from that listening session was the fact that school safety was their number one concern. As I've always said to most of our team, it's not good to go in with assumptions. Because I canvassed the neighborhood, I was assuming that the first thing that they would say was their biggest concern would be their community. It was not. School safety was the number one concern. Their second concern was support in various forms, support from school, from home, from relatives, just a little bit of everything. But also that third and final piece of the takeaway of the listening session was lack of resources. They were not really familiar with what was really beyond their block. They were not aware of some services that were nearby. So that's how we actually started our program. We kicked it off with the listening session. We began to collaborate with educational professionals, education advocates, and definitely our police department has been so instrumental, as I've mentioned before. And we all came together and began to discuss how can we build this curriculum. It was important to me, even though we are talking about youth deflection, you can't go to the end unless you really focus on the beginning. And to me, the initial start was we have to work with these students personally to see where they are, meet them where they are, and talk about personal development. But the way we have to do it is to get them to identify what are some of my issues that are impacting me from moving forward. What are some of my distractors? But at the same time, what are some of my passions and some of my interests? So that's where we started. We moved forward by building a 3-phase curriculum. Each phase has 2 months. We are currently in phase 3, but I want to go back and just pick up phase 1 and 2 to sort of give you some insight as to what those phases, what they look like. Phase 1 was all personal development. We started off with awareness because this was a topic where our students were truly struggling. They were struggling respecting others socially, even themselves. So questions were asked, how do you see yourself? How do you think others see you? We moved on from awareness to wellness and mental health. We brought in one of our partners that's just a couple of blocks from the school, from the church, the Samaritan Recovery Center. They've been instrumental as well, talking about wellness and mental health. One of the presenters in that particular session, she asked the students, do I look like a bad person? So of course the students respond, no, they're just looking at the outside. They said no. And of course she wasn't a bad person, but she wanted to share what she shared with them next. The students just sort of gasped. She said, I recently was incarcerated for 7 years. The kids couldn't believe it because they thought she was well polished. She articulated well, but she went on to share how she got there. And she talked about her middle school and high school years, isolating, wanting to fit in, not fitting in, and then isolating. She talked about abuse. She talked about some of the negatives in her life. But what got her to that point, she talked about the people that poured into her life and the mentors that she had. She talked about the counseling and she talked about Christ being in her life. And that was the main thing that got her to that point as far as where she was sharing with our students. Next, we invited men of valor and women of worth into our space because both of these groups were so impactful to our students. They stayed after and engaged with our students and talked about decision making. They shared with them when they were teenagers and some of the poor decisions that they made that actually landed them in jail. And they shared with them, this is something that you do not have to experience. Because I will share some of our students early on, getting just to meet them and developing rapport with our students. Yes, they did demonstrate behavior that was concerning, that could have been on that path to being in juvenile justice and criminal justice system. And that's something that we are definitely trying to prevent and avoid. We moved on to our personal development to professional development. And that professional development gave them an opportunity to look at some goals that were realistic goals. Not the goals where students just say, hey, I want to be in the NBA, but they've never even picked up a basketball. So we're like, really? Come on, let's be realistic about our goals. We wanted our students to bring in progress reports from school to help them with goal setting academically, but we also know some of the social and emotional learning that was needed and the life skills that were so needed. We had to really hone in on that quite a bit. So we brought in other partners as well, and we talked about things of that nature. Some of the things that the students really loved was talking about the academic literacy, but what was surprising, they really loved financial literacy. And unbeknownst to me, some are really dealing with food insecurity in their home. They're dealing with a lot of poverty. So some of the students said, this is something I need to take home, learning about the financial literacy so they don't have that food shortage in their home. They learn how to budget. So the kids were not just learning for themselves. They realized this is something that they can apply and take back to their families. Um, our name of our program is called Inspire. And the reason we say that we are connecting beyond the basics, we didn't want to simply be, and I say simply, I use that loosely because it's great when we focus on academics and recreation because it is so important to have that social time as well. But we wanted to connect beyond the basics. And when we say that, we want to equip them with what they need to apply to their life. So it's lifelong lessons that they are learning. We wanted them to be able to develop healthier relationships. We wanted them to be able to identify problems in their lives, problems in their community, as well within their schools. But not just to identify it, we have been working with them to try to backtrack and actually identify what is the root cause and what are these barriers that are impeding you from moving forward and making a lot of progress. Um, one of the things I want to share, one of the stories, and then I'm going to kick it over to a couple of people that are here, and maybe Jessica will be on, and we can do our slideshow, and then I'll come back and get you up to date with what we're actually doing hands-on right now. Um, when I talk about some of the behaviors, we were having some challenges with just concentration, being respectful when other people are talking. Some of the basic things that we just sort of take for granted because we've been raised a certain way or we got it, we understood. It was true supervision and discipline in place when we grew up. Some of our students struggle with that. Some of them truly do not have active supervision at home, and they're struggling with that. So we can see it when they come into our space. But I am proud to report they have truly grown since we rolled out this program November the 4th. One of our students had been advised to beware of another young man that was in his space. Of course, we can't be with our students 24/7. We only meet with them on Mondays, and then the school system, we were meeting with them on Wednesdays. And sharing with this young man because there were some things that was very clear with this other young man's behavior. And needless to say, an incident arose at the church on a Sunday where they were in the building, but they were allowing other people to access the building unauthorized and going places unauthorized. So quite naturally, there's cameras everywhere. One of our mentors that's in the program, she reached out to me, and she's also a guard working on a Sunday for our Emmaus program with the 510 Foundation, which is a program that deals with the unhoused population. She said, Dr. Willis, are these kids ours? I said, yes, they are. And I identified our kids and wanted to know what they were doing and if they were banned from the building. And that's what the approach was going to be, that they were banned from the building. But these are the kids that we are trying to reach. And this is the reason I bring up this case in point. Working with the leadership of the church, working with the 510, the board, working with Jessica Ruchit, our executive director with 510, just stressing the fact that these are the kids that we're trying to reach, that we do not want these kids ending up in the criminal justice system for a minor infraction. This was basically, you could call it trespassing, because that's basically what it was. For you all that do not know, my background is law enforcement. I'm a retired federal agent. And I said, it's definitely trespassing. I said, but however, I think we can address this and rectify the problem. But we all know it really requires parents to be a part of this process and the community, and we all have to be able to get together and collaborate to actually work with our young people. I'm proud to say we were able to do that with this young man that was a part of our program. We did suspend him for a short period of time, but however, working with his mom, this young man has actually turned out to be a star pupil in our program. And that is the reason that the Inspire program actually exists. It is about that personal development and seeing that growth. We have a lot of partners that work with us. We recently hosted a town hall event, and the deputy chief of police was one of our presenters, as well as one of the magistrates from the Juvenile Justice Center. Our students were able to identify questions in advance that they wanted to ask. But one of the facts that the juvenile justice magistrate provided in that session continues to stick with our students. We just had this town hall session maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, and we asked if you could share with us what's the ethnicity of the students, what is the gender of the students that make up your residents in the Juvenile Justice Center, the teens from 12 to 17 that are actually jailed there. And the majority of of the students there are African American, and she gave the percentage of 95%. And she said, and at times 99%. That was really overwhelming to our students, and they were really, it wasn't as if they couldn't believe it. I think they were just disappointed to hear it, which we all were disappointed to hear it. But however, that statistic continues to stay with them as they continue to move forward, working on their community service projects right now. The reason for that town hall is that they are now working on a community service project where they have identified 5 major areas in their community and in their school that is concerning to them. One is gun violence. That is an issue in our schools nationwide. Here in Nashville, it's a suburb called Antioch. We had a school shooting in January, and none of our students, our high schoolers, they don't attend Antioch, but everyone was affected by this incident, because once again, we were saying, here we go again, another school shooting. However, we know that the schools provided a safe space for our students and all students to talk about these concerns, but we also know that many of these students, they don't speak up. They're listening in an assembly. You've got hundreds of kids in there, and it's really hard to really identify who's hurting and who really needs to talk to someone, possibly one-on-one, and have some extended counseling. So what we did in the Inspire program on that Monday following the school shooting that Friday, we met with our kids and gave them that safe space to talk. And some of them were very bothered by it. It was a concern for them as well as the parents. And some of the parents not even wanting their children to return to school because of their concerns. So we continue to work with the school system. In addition to the gun violence topic, we're also focusing on drugs and youth. Fentanyl is a major issue here in Nashville. And our middle schoolers and high schoolers, they just did their research. We have over half the percentage of students here that have tried some type of illegal drug or alcohol, which is a concern. And I know this is a nationwide concern, but I'm just focusing on Nashville right now and what our students have been able to uncover in their research. We know, and I personally know, it is an issue in their community in which they reside. And the reason I personally know this is because we try to remove a barrier for them to be able to attend Inspire by providing transportation. But oftentimes, when we go to pick our students up, they may not be at their designated space for pickup. So I will walk the neighborhood and call in advance, call the parent, but also oftentimes I may have to get off the bus and walk. And I am encountering a little bit of everything, including drug use. The smell is in the air. You're walking through gangs of people, but I'm trying to set the stage for you to understand this is what we're trying to save our children from, our students from. So that is another topic. The other topic our students elected to address is the relationships they have with their parents. To me, this is major because this is where it all begins. It begins at home. Inspire is a supplement to that. I'm trying to reach our parents for them to understand that school is a supplement to their parenting, and we want to help them as much as we can. Um, and we know it is a concern. Some of our students have admitted having poor relationships with their parents, using profanity when addressing their parents. But I will say, our students have grown so much that it's like any kids, they sort of know who they can say it in front of, they know who they can test, they know who they can push the envelope with. And one thing that I always tell the students when we're riding the bus home, when a mentor has told me that they heard a student using profanity, I said, do you think it's strange that Dr. Willis, over the course of 5 months, I have not heard one curse word? Not one? And they were like, because they don't do it in front of me. But however, we know that tells us you know right from wrong, you know when to apply it, but typical students, you're going to try to push the envelope where you can. So we're working and navigating through those type of challenges as well. One of our biggies that we are working with is social media influence on our students. We have so many of our students wanting to be like someone else, wanting to fit in with someone else, and that someone else often is the wrong crowd. Um, we had a debate in our class, in our session one night, and that was simply talking about the access to your cell phone in a learning environment. I asked half of the room to be for and one half against. So we had our pro and con. I did it in a deliberate fashion because we have a problem with a couple of our students that will not put their phones away when requested by their mentors. So quite naturally, I ensured that she was on the side of the room that says, I'm against having the cell phone. So when she realized she was on the side for against, she said, no, 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 I want to change. I said, no, you're on that side. So they debated this issue and they did a very good job. I was very impressed with everything that they put forth as an argument. So we have some intelligent young people if they apply themselves, and they are well on their way. Um, as far as accessing the cell phone, we ended up with a policy in our program that cell phones will be put away at the beginning of the program because it does prevent us from focusing and really applying ourselves and being respectful, unless your mentor wants you to have access to that cell phone. So our final topic that I wanted to share with you, we did the social media, the guns and gun violence, the drugs, and the relationship with parents. The last one was we wanted to circle back to our number one topic that we did and we presented for Theory of Change is youth violence. Some of our kids have experienced bullying in school. Matter of fact, the day that we hosted our listening session, one of the students, which we really commend him for doing that because we had never met this young man before, he admitted that day he had been bullied in school and jumped on the day we hosted our listening session. So we know this is an issue and we embrace all of these kids, and we have excellent mentors that's working with them. We are doing our program as a group mentoring project for the youth deflection. So I'm going to stop talking. I put some notes down here because I know I can go on and on and on. We do have a slideshow, but before we share that slideshow, I know we have Lauren and we have Maura on the phone. I would like to defer to them and have them share from their perspective as mentors. What has this program been like for them, and what do they see as far as it impacting our students? So, Maura, would you like to go first?
Sure, that works. So my name is Moira Mitchell. I'm one of the mentors for Inspire. I used to be a public school teacher, but now I teach for a nonprofit fine arts academy. So I'm used to working with kids. But Inspire has really been an interesting avenue as far as how you're a different way to expose yourself to kids, because as a teacher that's just an entirely different environment. Knowing that they've chosen to be here and we are going through specifically, I mean, their topics difficult for me to even have to talk about and discuss and find creative ways to explain. I don't know, it's just it's really stretched me as far as someone who feels like they might have good skills when talking to children, but having to discuss these harsh topics really also requires that you have answered some of these questions yourself. And so it's I think it provides a way for our mentors to step up to the plate as well to meet these kids where they're at, because that does require something of us as mentors. But I think it's tenfold the reward when you see some of these kids applying some of the things that we're learning that they don't necessarily have to apply. It's great information that they're learning, but when you see them take this and then come back and say, I had a goal and I tried to meet it and now I've met it. And now I feel like I can actually be a good student at school. I now feel like I can actually try for that scholarship to get into college. When you see these students recognizing their own power and how they have take agency over their own lives, it really, working with kids is such a hopeful experience when you have a lot of things going on that may, tank you otherwise. I am just, every time I am just left feeling hopeful for our communities because they're building our new community. They are our new community. And it's heartwarming to feel like we're going to be okay with these kids because they're blossoming when they're given all the resources. They really can. I mean, they're blowing my mind. So changing the world, I'm sure.
Thank you, Maura. Lauren's going to give some comments now.
Hello, my name is Lauren Willis. I am the husband to Dr. Willis. We come as a team most of the time. However, in pursuing an objective or goal involving youth, it's a challenge in its own right. However, having to been able to be a part of it and to participate, it has given me a different light, although I have worked with young people pretty much my whole career in one capacity or another. It is really something unique in what Dr. Willis has established from the ground up. And believe me, it has been quite challenging for her, but she's never thrown the towel in. She continually to work hard and try to meet the challenges, not only dealing with us as mentors, also dealing with the mentees and their parents, the organization, and the community itself, and an environment which Inspire is surviving in. It's really, really challenging more ways than none. And one, unless you are involved, would not have a clue as to what is going on. But what we are able to offer the kids through Inspire is phenomenal. It's good. It's great. It's allowing them to examine their ability and to also to question their environment and what challenges that they face not only at school but at home and also in the community, and just trying to find their way as being young people, being kids. It's a challenge within itself as well. But they all are not on the same level. You have to deal with each individual on their own merits. And you have to be patient. Sometimes you want to say something, but you can't do that because you're trying to present a good environment, a learning environment, and also an enjoyable environment for the young people. So what is going on with Inspire and also Dr. Willis, the team that she has been able to put together and the various players that she has brought to the table and allow them to be exposed where ordinarily they would not have been. So with God's guidance and help, we've been able to achieve as a group a great deal. and looking forward to doing other things with the young people. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is Jessica on? Tanner, do you see Jessica on? Okay.
I'm here. I'm here,
oh.
Dr. Willis. I have Erskine here as well.
Okay, wonderful. We will defer to them as well and hear some feedback from them. And after they finish, let me ask you this, Tanner, do you see Sergeant Ward? Is she on as well? That's our,
I don't think so.
okay, that's our main player from Metro PD. That's okay. After Jessica and Erskine give some insight, we're going to go ahead and share the slideshow, and then I'll have some closing comments. Okay, Erskine?
Hey, how's it going? Hope you guys are doing well today. Sorry for my tardiness. For some reason, the link, I don't know. This is that technological day. But wanted to wanted to be a part of this meeting, very much so because I have been able to see various aspects of the program from its inception. Obviously, our conversations that we've had in the past, all the way up to the point now where the kids are beginning to put together some positive plans to move forward with researching projects that they have, as well as being able to present those projects. And as one who has seen sort of the inception of the program all the way up until its point now, driving the bus through their neighborhoods, learning about some of their life circumstances and situations they've been involved in, some of the heartbreaking situations that they've experienced themselves firsthand. And in the weeks that I'm in town, being able to sit among the mentors and with Dr. Willis to just sort of review and remind ourselves of why we're doing what we're doing and what we're doing and the impact of that. I can with glaringly encouragement report that this program has done an incredible amount of good. I've seen the kids themselves. They have, if they could have, I don't know if you're going to do this, Dr. Willis, but if they could see themselves at the beginning of this program until where they're at now, with not only their ability to present information, but just to understand the magnitude and the depth of where they're at in relationship to where they could be going and where they are presently going. We've had an opportunity to interact with the community on a variety of different levels, professionals from the community that have come in. We've been engaged in the community and have the community support, not just of the police department, but also of the educational facilities that are around us, as well as the church, as well as the community at large. And so on many different fronts, I've seen the kids flourish. I've seen the community begin to flourish. And I think these kids are beginning to really take ownership in the sense that, and maybe Dr. Willis will speak to this point, but there's some kids who have been a part of the program who are not now a part of the program. There's some kids that were in and out of the program who had to make some very real decisions about the value of the program and what it could mean for their lives. And so I will not take any of her thunder with regards to those things, but I think suffice to say, the program that we were wanting to put in place is a program that we have put in place, and the lives that we've wanted to impact through this program are being impacted in a very positive way. And it just remains to be seen the number of kids that will be able to influence over the time of the lifespan of this program. But I'm very assured at this point that we are true north in terms of what our aspirations were and are, and that these kids are embracing with a sense of understanding and accountability their responsibilities and roles within this project. And so I'll defer the rest of my time because I don't want to be talking on here the whole time, but it's good to see all of you here, and I'll pass it on to Jessica.
Well, I don't have a ton to add because I'm not in there with the students every week. I appreciate Dr. Willis's leadership and the team that she has built and the way that she has crafted the program so thoughtfully and so strategically, and really considered the needs of these kids and the feedback from them. And I think that's kind of rare. I think we often assume what kids need or what we think will help them. And really a lot of what's being done here is based on what the feedback was from the kids themselves. And so it's really, I'll never forget it was the first, we had just had the listening session, and then it was the time for them to come and meet the mentors. and it was a rainy day, and the buses went out to go pick up students from their neighborhood, and we had kids show up super early, and it was because they walked there. They walked to the church in the rain for that first session because they were so excited to be there and to be a part. And that was really, again, it was right at the beginning. It was before we'd even hardly done anything yet. And I think, that the relationships that are being built between Dr. Willis and the students, the mentors and the students, and then all of these community partners that have come alongside. And Dr. Willis has done such a good job of reaching out and getting all different organizations from our community who also care about these students to come in and be a part and engage. And the town hall that we had a few weeks ago, my son came with me. He's not part of the program, but he's 10 years old. And the conversations that we've had that have been so powerful, I can only imagine how much it has impacted the other students. I, see my perspective as a parent and the conversations that I've ended up being able to have with my son, and just some of the real topics that they're hard realities. And as Moira pointed out, there's some really difficult things that these students are dealing with every day, and difficult realities in their communities. And so I just appreciate so much. It's so beautiful to see the space that's being created for these students to grow and see hope and different future for themselves. And so, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. Would you mind the slideshow that I sent over to you? I don't know if the music was attached, but we'll go for it. We'll make it work. And while she's prepping that, it's an overview of the beginning up to this point to just give you some insight as far as some of their activities and student-led activities. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Sorry. I gotta redo that.
Can I talk to you? I know you got some questions. What's the hardest thing you're going through? Let's talk about it.
Talking about mountains, talking about pain, talking about my life, when will it change? Talking about all things, God can do all things. Talking about nights I lose my way, and my dreams that have been erased. Talking about all things. I say God
Are you having some difficulty?
Is it working?
I know days it won't always be easy.
We're here.
So it's good to know I'll never let you down. Talking about all things, all the big and the small things.
I'm so sure.
God can do all things. Talking about doubts that flood my mind. I'm out of funds and I'm out of time. I need a blessing. I need you to do all things.
See, I understand that.
I know days it won't always be easy.
And just in case I fall,
So it's good to know I'll never let you down.
Yeah.
Talking about all things,
all things.
all the big and the small things.
Yeah.
God can do all things.
Say it again, Dale.
Talking about all things, all the big and the small things.
Let's go.
God can do all things.
Just because he's silent doesn't mean that he's still. He's not only preparing it for you, he's preparing you for it. Let's go.
Talking about all things, all the big and the small things.
Hallelujah.
Talking about doors you've never seen.
Yeah.
Blessings on blessings for you to receive. Talking about all things, all the big and the small things.
He sees you.
Talking about doors you've never seen.
Yes.
Blessings on blessings for you to receive. Talking about all things,
See the blessings coming,
big and the small things.
but he had to get you ready for it.
Talking about doors you've never seen.
Yes, say?
Blessings on blessings for you to receive.
What we talking about?
All things.
What we talking about?
All things.
Come on, say.
All things.
Say it again now.
All things.
And my people say.
God can do it. He can do it. All things.
Yeah.
All things.
Yes, sir. Nothing is impossible. All things work together. You can't give up now. Hey. What we talking about?
Talking about all things. All the
Hallelujah.
big and the small things.
God can.
God can do all things.
One, two, 1, 2. 1.
Okay, thank you, Jessica, for sharing that for me. We've been able to accomplish a lot, but it's definitely with the help of so many people. The song that I wanted attached to that slideshow was intentional because we know it's a blessing to be able to work with these young people. And it's blessings, like the song says, blessings on blessings. And we also know we're trying to get them to understand, and I know that they do at this point because they have grasped this, that small things matter. And we have to start at the beginning as we move forward. We are focusing on moving the needle, and they're moving with us now. And we're so thankful for the opportunity. With this town hall that we just hosted, it's not just a town hall. We are taking this town hall and making it a part of our community service project. All of these kids are conducting the research right now, and they will be presenting on their topics in their recognition night on April the 25th. That will not just be a presentation on April the 25th. We have a youth advisory council that will be an instrumental part of our leadership academy that will take place in June. We will have a small select group of middle school, high school students, approximately 12 students that will be in this leadership academy. They will be dissecting these issues, but actually creating action plans that they will be presenting to the chief of police and also to the superintendent of Metro Public School System. So it's not just about identifying an issue and, oh, we did a presentation. We want to impact change. These students want to impact change within their community and within their school. So I want to say this final thing, and then I will turn it back over to you, Tanner. We started off with a small select group of students, and as Erskine had alluded to, we know sometimes when the train is moving, everyone can't go. Everyone can't go, and we have to make hard decisions sometimes that we have to eliminate someone from the program. It took a minute for me to get there because I wanted everyone to stay in the program. But if a student is disruptive to the point that it is preventing others from learning, then I had to make that decision. I made a decision of one young man that we just didn't even allow him to enter the program because of what was being displayed. But however, I'm still in communication with this student on a trial basis just to see if improvement, because those are the kids that we're trying to reach and we don't want to just totally eliminate. So we continue to work with everyone in the neighborhood. I want to share with you that the school-based program with Stratford Middle School and then also the community-based program, we had approximately 38 students signed up for the program. We did have some challenges with the Stratford Middle School trying to get those students to the church location when the program began to blend for the town hall effort. So those are challenges that we're continuing to work through, but I am still in communication with the school system, and we'll have some of them present as well on April the 25th and in our Leadership Academy effort that we will sponsor in June. So we're proud of our students. We've done a lot with them, and there's a lot more to do, but I will say we are inspired. So I'll turn it back to you guys and see if you have any questions for us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. That was powerful.
Thank you.
And Dr. Willis, it was really insightful to see what you're doing. Before we move to questions, I do want to ask, Corey, you are from Martin County, Kentucky. How are you guys surviving the floods? Are you okay?
Yes, fortunately, the second round of storms weren't too bad, but it seems like the western part of the state had it worse than we did, unfortunately. So, but all is well.
Okay, we've been thinking about you. Also, Nashville, have you really had a lot of water as well?
In some areas, actually East Nashville, but not around the church area. But we actually had some flooding where cars were under. That was a week ago, Wednesday night. So things are better, but we encountered quite a few tornadoes in the state and in the area of Nashville and surrounding areas. Matter of fact, I shared with Jessica, we were talking about, she said, "Are you guys safe over there? And are you guys okay?" We're checking on each other. I told her, you get really nervous and you get squirmish when the meteorologist actually calls your street name to take cover because the tornado's over your street. So they called our street name. And of course, family and dog included, we got to our safe space. But it was a sleepless night for many of us, but we're all safe.
Glad you're all safe. I've been to Martin County, Kentucky several times, and I know that river floods quite often, so I was worried about you guys. So, questions for Dr. Willis? Daryl?
Dr. Willis, first of all, very impressed with your program. You're doing great work, and that's a great slideshow. I'd show that everywhere you get the opportunity to do so. My quick question had to do with one of the signs that one of your young people was holding on to. It said Misfits. Can you describe what that is or what they are?
Yes. Yeah, I am so glad you asked. Misfits is actually a semi-pro women's tackle football team.
Oh,
They
wow.
are here out of Nashville. Actually, one of the mentors in our program is the owner of the Misfits. And we also have two of our mentors that one is a coach and one is a player. They also serve as mentors. So I asked them early on if they would be willing to do a hands-on clinic with our students. And they said, sure. So we did a clinic and some of those pictures were in the slideshow. So then I said, well, while I'm asking, would you guys host a game? And I said, not actual tackle, but flag football. And they said yes. So they brought the team. And I just make that little Misfits Inspire sign so we'd have something there as we took that group photo. But they've been great supporting us.
Oh, that's great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, thanks for asking.
So, Dr. Willis, let me ask you this. Our sites and more of the sites are coming on board, focusing on the impact of chronic absenteeism, which has become a national crisis since COVID, particularly. How difficult would it be? Because I don't want to change what you're doing or the intent of your program, because it really is a protective factor and should keep kids in school. But how difficult would it be for you to also track working with QSide, who's helping us collect data, and then, of course, with the SBIRT model, how difficult would it be for you to begin asking the question in your overall approach, how your program keeps kids in school?
I think it's a great question. And that is really our focus. That's one of our focuses is keeping you in school. One of the things I ask the students when they get on the bus every week, how was school? How many of you went to school? Who didn't go to school today? That's sort of how I kick it off. And they trust us now. So they've developed a rapport. They'll tell you, I didn't go to school today. And then that sort of unfolds. Why did you not go to school? So we're sort of delving into some of these issues, why they're not going to school. But what we're also doing, some of them do this well, some of them do not, and that is bringing their progress reports, which actually tracks their tardiness and their absenteeism. And that is something that I'm trying to capture as well. Especially, I want to capture that for each student by the end of May when they get that final progress report. Because as I share to them, you have to be present in order to learn. You have to be present in order to apply yourself. So we really talk about mindfulness a lot because we really need to focus. but I really focus on actually being in school because that was a concern. So I think that's something that we can track, and that's something that we can work with Tyrone and his group on, because we know it is affecting some of our schools and some of our students, because actually it doesn't take much for our students to say, oh, I'm not going today. And we want
Good.
them to get beyond that.
Yeah. Great. I think you're in. That
Yes,
makes sense.
yes, we're definitely in, because you got to be there. You got to be
Yeah.
there if you want to move forward.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Any other questions for Dr. Willis? Justin.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dr. Woods. That was a great presentation and amazing work that you're doing. I guess I'm curious about scale. How have you kind of wrestled with how many students you reach versus really focusing on deeper programming for those students? And I guess as an extension of that, even probably how you've worked with local schools or other organizations where you've recruited and engaged these students.
Well, you have been reading my notes, I think. I will definitely tell you that it has been on my mind quite a bit. It started with one of the lieutenants from the police department making a request. He made a statement, you need to do this all over Nashville. And I said, well, we want to just sort of do this pilot and then reassess what we're doing and see where we need to make some changes. He said, no, but that'll take too long. And I said, I understand, but we have to take it slow because we want to make sure we vet our mentors, we get quality people. But I actually spoke with at least 5 different school principals, but we knew we couldn't be everywhere. So I wanted to identify a school that actually needed the program. And that's why we went to Stratford Middle School. Some of the schools within the Nashville area, they have supplemental programs already. Stratford Middle did not have any type of program like this. They have a program where the kids come in and just sort of more recreation and you do your homework, but nothing to this magnitude. So when I interviewed the principal of Stratford Middle, she was very excited about the program. And she basically said, what is your criteria for the students participating? I didn't want to give her one. And she said, well, I like that because I want the students that need the program to be in the program. So as far as our reach, we, matter of fact, Jessica and I, we just had this discussion maybe a month ago that we are now going to North Nashville is another area very similar to East Nashville where we have great concerns that we want to reach our students that need the program. So we will continue with the program for the summer, but August, when we have our back to school event, we will be in the North Nashville area as well. And I'm in the process of talking to schools now, trying to find out which schools. So, and as far as that would be addressing the scale part. We want it to be far and wide, but we know that we are budget restricted. And then also that has a lot to do with it because one thing that we do, we also feed our students. And sometimes I'm just really concerned about our kids sometimes after they get the one meal at school and then the one meal from us on a Monday, I'm concerned how much they are getting access to food. So we want to keep our program in place. Additional dollars are definitely needed. I thought I did a decent job on identifying food costs. I didn't count include inflation. As you all know, your budget and my budget for food has really skyrocketed. So that is a major part of our program as well. So we just try to budget everything that we do and not really change anything because we want our students to sort of expect goodness when they come. I want them to expect support when they come. And we try to ensure that we provide that. So we're going to continue down that path. But as far as reaching people beyond East Nashville, we are in the process of doing that right now.
It's great.
Thank you.
Good question, Justin. Other questions? By the way, I failed to mention Carissa Shepard is with us from the Pascua Yaqui tribe, and we welcome you to our webinars, Carissa. So, Colleen, did you have a question?
I do. In the conversations that we've had so far in Schenectady and even in Oklahoma City, the conversation is the language is shifting a little bit to, rather than preventing chronic absenteeism, how do we create presence? It's flipping the dynamic. And it seems to me the things that you're doing when we talk about belonging, meaning, purpose, and well-being, you're creating an environment in which kids who are not experiencing that in the traditional school setting are able to be engaged and to become engaged and leaders around defining the things that need to get addressed and solutions. So you're creating meaning and purpose as well as belonging. That as we think about the strategy of using community members to interact with young people, to do that initial screening and checking, the school districts and the communities that we're working in are needing to think about these wraparound approaches of how we do create belonging, meaning, purpose, and well-being. And beyond connecting them to the very basic needs of housing and food and transportation, how are we transforming the culture of school and the culture of community to be more inclusive and embracing of young people identifying and driving change? You're doing that. And so I think as we go forward with a theory of change around how we might do everyday counts, it seems to me the work that you're engaged in is going to be very informative. And I think we need to explore how we integrate or help school districts and communities take that broader perspective of creating a place where young people can flourish and thrive. So I just want to commend your work and acknowledge that our theory of change is pretty concrete right now in terms of everyday counts. But as I think as our communities are engaging this question of how we get young people to show up in school, school has to be something that is meaningful and that they have a place in and they have a voice in. And so,
Well, and Colleen, on top of that, if I could follow up, in the slide presentation particularly, it was obvious or conspicuous how the community was engaged. And that's sort of a backbone of the SBIRT model, is getting the community asking those questions about what school means to you. And what are your challenges related to schooling? And then you're bringing those kinds of access to community people and to services and to programs. That's exactly what the heart of Everyday Counts, which is the name of the program initiative, is really all about. So,
yeah, I appreciate those comments. I just want to make one quick comment to that. All of this is a concern as far as their presence in school. Even though they have shared a lot of distractors, we even have some of our students that still say, I want to be a teacher.
yeah.
They have that aspiration still. They want to be a teacher because they want to make a difference. So what I am looking for with this Leadership Academy, for them to be our voices, which actually links to all of our students' voices, when we take these actionable items, these plans, my mindset tells me we need a overall student success strategy, and it involves the schools. So that's why we want to present that to the superintendent with a select group of these students that will actually put legs on all of these presentations. They will put legs on these plans to bring them to life with recommendations. And I know they can do it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing them interact with the superintendent. They've been a little nervous about their principal coming to the recognition night. I said, I didn't say she's coming, she's invited. And they said, no. And I said, no, you'll do fine. We have made great strides with them just speaking. I videotaped them. I just want to let you know their growth. I videotaped them doing a public speaking, their initial thing. And as we know, that is one of the most hardest things for people to do. And they did everything from, kicking legs, scratching hair, rubbing, just doing everything, nervous. But however, I told them I will show them that video. I've put it together of all of them. They had to read a question and then actually give their perspective on that question, their own answer, while I was videotaping them in front of the entire group. And the growth is amazing. They're going to say that's not me, but it's definitely them, but they will be able to see their own growth. And I think someone mentioned that before. I'm just looking forward to it. So we appreciate all of your support and just hearing us today and supporting our students, because when you support us, you're supporting our kids. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Jay.
Yeah, I just think it's powerful, and thank you for the good work that you do in the community. I just think I was impressed, Dr. Willis, when you told the story of the kids that you found that had broken into the church. That's awesome. I just think it's so important that you don't write people off so quickly. You know, even young people who make a mistake, and that strictly could be seen as a crime. You don't write those people off so quickly. And you know, it's a principle, I think, you know, sometimes the problem kids, if they just have the right direction and focus, if they take all of that energy and put it in the right way, they can be your leaders and difference makers, and you're giving them that avenue and you know, you didn't write those guys off right away. There was a consequence. I think you said they had, but I just think that's so powerful, and I just want to commend you for your wisdom and your approach that you're taking. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. That really means a lot. Thank you so much.
Jim, I have one more comment, and I just want to thank Erskine and Dr. Willis for continuing to drive listening sessions, the Justice Circle continuing to evolve and grow, and maintaining the work that you've done, allowing it to go in the direction it needs to go. But just want to validate and appreciate your leadership, and Jessica, your support through the 510 Foundation. You know, it's really exciting to see it continue, that it hasn't lost momentum while you're now adding this youth component that's so powerful.
Yeah. That's great. Any other comments or questions?
Just a quick
Arlene?
comment. I feel like I found a sister friend. I'm just sitting here, just feeling like, wow, this is awesome. And thank you again, Jim and Colleen, for doing a faith walk with our small SJI, because yeah, this is what community is all about. And now more than ever, we need to find our sister, brother, they friends. We need to find our communities, find our people. So I have to sign off. I pushed an appointment back in the middle of this. I said, I am not leaving. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
I kind of want to move to Nashville now. So
Yeah.
Come on.
come on, okay. I don't
From
know.
East Harlem to Nashville, that's a leap.
What could be different? What could be different?
Well, if there's no other questions, we'll be announcing next month's webinar, and we have some ideas for that. Really appreciate everybody's participation, and particularly our new sites that are coming on board. There is no exact. I often resist the use of the current term model, because it can be the tyranny of the model that you're expected to do what this person does or that person does. What I love about ACT Now is the uniquenesses of each site, and coming around these common themes of protecting our youth and keeping them out of the criminal justice system by creating this presence wherever they may be living or working, in the family and the home. And you're all doing that in very unique ways. And I want to congratulate the sites. I'm encouraged about the future of this program. We have a number of sites that are wanting to come on board. In this grant cycle, we're limited to 10, and we're almost getting there. So, and plus the good work of the sites that were our pilot sites. Tanner, do you have anything you want to add at this point?
No, this has been wonderful. We'll have a recording sometime in the next couple days. And also we'll announce the date and time and what's coming next month too. So look for that.
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good week, and we'll be in touch. Oh, by the way, continue to access Circle, and be sure that everybody is able to access Circle, because we're starting to post more and more information on Circle as our communication enhances and creates a place for us to have dialogue and to gain information. So, okay. Thanks, guys.